and Bible pray for. And we'll be so honored to give you the glory and the praise. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen. Amen. All right. I don't see anybody we need to welcome because we all see as new members of staff. So call this meeting to order and ask for a motion to approve the minutes of January 2nd and January 16th public hearing.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion and a second to approve. Any comments or discussion? If not, are we ready to vote? Stephanie?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
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 Minutes stay approved. Stand approved. Before we get started here, I know she knows William's not present tonight. He has some family issues, but he said he would be watching if he could. Okay. Let me just a second. Let me figure out how to take this thing off. It's going to be dinging and banging all night if I don't do something to it. Okay. New business. Ms. Tracy, you want to get started with number one?
Yes, sir. Actually, number one and number two kind of go hand in hand with each other. So with the permission, I'll read both of them.
Sure.
Okay, Fred and Marla Hall are requesting to rezone their 5.36 acres from A2 to AR to bring the property into compliance with zoning regulations and to reduce the lot size to approximately 4 acres, with the remaining acreage to be absorbed into their adjoining property, which is identified as map 27, parcel 173. Property is located at 0 Booger Hill Road in Danielsville on map 27, parcel 173-01 in District 1. And their second request is to rezone their 7.65 acres from A2 to AR to bring the property into compliance with zoning regulations and to allow the absorption of the acreage from the adjoining property, identified map 27, parcel 173-01, to slightly adjust the property lines to allow an existing driveway easement to be on the property. The property is located at 3771 Booger Hill Road in Danielsville on map 27, parcel 173 in District 1. So, Mr. Hall owns 2 adjoining properties, and he is, actually, they're lawfully non-conforming as is. So this rezone will actually bring them into compliance. He is splitting off 1.36 acres to absorb into his adjoining parcel to allow an existing driveway easement to be included on the property. He's slightly moving the property lines to achieve this. His daughter plans to build a home on the tract in the near future. And then the adjoining parcel, the proposed use is to allow the absorption from the adjoining property, and that will be, let's see, to rezone will bring the property into compliance. Mr. Hall is wanting to take the 1.36 acres from his adjoining property to allow an existing driveway easement to be included on this tract.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Tracy on this one, or does anybody understand what's being asked for?
I have a question on the driveway.
Okay.
I know the neighbors, and I have talked with them. One of the property owners, this was originally cut in there in the 1970s, as a 4-lot. There's 2 more lots over on the left side of that driveway. So it was a 4-lot subdivision that was cut in there. And the property owners have always been under the impression that the roadway is an easement. However, that's not a street name, it's not considered a private drive that I can find. Guess my question is, if this is done, does that affect whether they have to consider this a private drive and do any county standard setting construction?
Because that's the picture.
Yes, sir. So it's just the 2 parcels, I think.
First one background.
Mm-hmm.
This is the parcel where the daughter's gonna live,
Yes.
and then they live here.
The neighbors live there, but the
Behind.
daughter currently lives there, right there where you.
No, sir, the other one,
Yeah.
yes, sir.
So who lives on this?
No one.
Vacant.
So long
That's
as
where the
they-
daughter's wanting to build.
So the way that I see it right now is pre-existing, and if the daughter's wanting to build here, she'd have an entrance coming off the road. If she used this one, they'd have to bring in the county standard.
They would.
So what about them other 2 properties, especially the one?
This one and this one,
Yeah.
neighbors here,
They currently come off of that road. The one on the left near at Booger Hill, the one in the upper left corner, they access Booger Hill Road directly.
and this one,
Straight
if they
out.
built a home, could as well. If they come in with their plan and they want to bring it in, then they have to bring it up to the county standards, but as it sits right now, they wouldn't be changing the access. That's already lawfully non-conforming. I think we fit this as the term, but, so long as, when they come in to permit, and they cut a driveway and should be coming off, they'll be good.
Is that a paper?
No, gravel.
Oh, gravel.
And it's maintained by
So
one guy.
how, if there's no name, how are they getting there? What's the address? How's the,
Booger Hill Road.
These
oh, so they use.
drives or easements that have done this, that don't have a county name, all the mailboxes are typically
Oh,
here.
over there.
Makes it a pain when responding.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I was the EMT, so anyway, I don't know.
One of our arguments for the county ordinance, driveway ordinance, makes it very fun. If it's a fire, it's easy, it's the one that's burning.
So everybody on there is easy, not an easy.
Well, you said it was a 4-lot subdivision?
Yeah, you can.
It was built as a 4-lot subdivision back in the 70s.
Oh, so they didn't have to pave it. It could be a subdivision without a pave.
Back then.
Yeah, that's.
Yes,
Any further questions, or?
Just a clarification, Mr. Patrick, that red line there, is that the new boundary line that'll incorporate the driveway?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Moving on, number 2.
Okay.
Three.
Three, yeah.
So, number 3, I'm sorry.
All right, next up is Robert Thompson, and he is requesting to rezone 21 acres from A1 to A2 to allow a second home to be placed on the property as an accessory dwelling unit for his daughter. Property is located at 3238 Arnold Bottoms Road in Culver on map 71, parcel 70 in District 5. And, the additional home will be for his daughter. He does not want to split the property. There's an existing driveway for the new home. The 2 homes will have separate driveways. The rezoning of this property will actually bring it into compliance with zoning regulations as it's under 25 acres in the A1 zone now.
I guess the only question is, does it qualify for ADU? Because he could very easily just split the thing and it'd be no problem.
And I did have his sister come in, one day last week, and she said that someone is living in a camper down there. And also using her property for their driveway, and that their property isn't landlocked, but he has used that for years. So I think we had sent it to you, Christopher. I got a note sent to Christopher.
Somebody don't know. They didn't make it.
Any questions on this one, or any problem with it?
So, are you saying there's another home down there?
Camper would qualify as a dwelling.
Yeah.
So his home's there right now, and that's all that's on it now, other than that, it's camper. And that was his sister, but she was saying, I don't want to get him in trouble, but.
So I thought you couldn't stay in a camper for.
You can't.
Well, you can't,
Yeah.
you can't live for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah, 15 days inside the 60-day period,
Mhm.
consecutively. But if it's used as your primary dwelling,
Well, this has nothing to do with anything, but how long can you just park one and not live in it?
one camper per home on a parcel that is to exceed 15 days remaining on the property, but must be parked behind the home or under shelter, and it must have a valid tag and title.
That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay.
You asked.
I don't want it's really a violation. 15 days, that was 6 months. So, okay. But anyway, sorry I asked. Any more questions on this one? All right, number 4.
All right, 4, 5, and 6, that consists of 4 different rezones that Gary Harbin is the applicant for. So just know that these all hinge on one another, but I'll start with the first one. Gary Harbin, applicant for Sandra.
Just one thing, so y'all know, when we do take it up at the public hearing meeting, number 4 with Sandra Yarborough will have to be heard by itself, but 5 and 6 can be heard together since it's the same applicant. Sorry to interrupt you.
Thank you. Gary Harbin, applicant for Sandra Yarborough, is requesting to rezone her 2 acres from A2 to AR to allow a portion of land from adjoining property identified as map 54, parcel 19, to be absorbed into this tract to enlarge the parcel. Property is located at 678 Veterans Drive in Danielsville on map 54 and parcel 20 in District 2. And what's happened, and she's just wanting to, the neighbors, Chandler and Adams, own 3 tracts of land, and they're just wanting to purchase 2 acres from one of the tracts to absorb into her 2-acre tract for a total of 4 acres. And in doing so, this will bring the currently non-conforming A2 into compliance with zoning regulations. And that's the site plan for that.
So she just asked him to add 2 acres to make it 4.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So what's identified as tract 1 here has a home on it.
Yes, sir.
Tract 2, does it have a dwelling on it?
Let's see.
And then the same with tract 3?
Right, they're vacant.
They're both vacant.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other questions? we'll look at 4 and 5.
Okay. Gary Harvin, applicant for Patricia Chandler and Lynn Adams, is requesting to rezone their 10 acres from A2 to AR to allow a portion of the property to be sold and absorbed into neighbors' adjoining property, identified as map 54, parcel 20. Property is located at 0 Veterans Drive in Danielsville on map 54, parcel 19 in District 2. So basically what's happening is Ms. Chandler and Mrs. Adams have 3 tracts. It's a 10-acre tract, a 3.92-acre tract, and a half-acre tract. So just as a summary before I read the second one, they're selling 2 acres to the neighbor, which is Ms. Yarber. And then they're combining all of the acreage together for a total of 12.42 acres. Then they're dividing that into 2 equal tracts of 6.21. So they're essentially taking their 3 tracts and putting them all together, then divide them up for 2 tracts after selling the 2 acres to the neighbor. So I'll read the second one as well. And that's Gary Harvin, applicant for Patricia and Lynn Adams, is requesting to rezone their 2 properties consisting of 3.92 and 0.50 acres from A2 to AR to allow them to be combined with their adjoining property, identified as map 54, parcel 19, for approximately 12.42 acres, and then to divide it into 2 equal tracts of approximately 6.21 acres. Properties are located at 0 Veterans Drive in Danielsville on map 54, parcel 17 and 18 in District 2.
So they combined in 17 and 18,
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
And everything has road frontage or whatever.
Yes. No problem with that. They're actually combining 17 and 18 and 19, with the exception of that 2 acres that they're selling.
You know, something, what's the third one right there? You see that, right?
So number 4 would be rezoned with the condition that the remaining acreage be absorbed into the neighboring parcel of 19.
Anything further?
Well, Ms. Patrick, one point of clarification, that little box in the top of that, yeah, that little box
Little box
right
right
there.
there, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What, is that the 2 acre, what is that?
No, I don't know.
2 acres down at the bottom right, isn't it?
Bottom right.
I think it's the half-acre. Wasn't there like a half-acre that was joined?
yeah, that's track 18, I think, on that.
Oh, I see.
I want to see that up close as original property line, those property lines will split.
Huh.
So that dotted one is how it was. I'm not sure how that played into it. But, and then the proposed, I had to get up close to it myself.
Right on this map right here, that's big track 18 on this map here, what we got,
Which is the half acre?
which is a half acre
Okay.
on this map here.
It's the half acre that they were talking about.
See?
Thank you.
Oh, that's the, but I'm saying, we don't see the 3 acres.
That's the half acre right there.
Oh,
Oh, I see what
Turn it
you're
over
saying.
on this page here. Turn it right back over.
oh, yeah,
See right there.
oh.
There's one over on number 5, I think it is.
Yeah, that's the
So this is
148 or half acre or whatever it is.
19.
This is, that little dot. See, I think
That's actually 18, isn't it?
yeah. One Bruce was asking about,
Yes.
up on the map, that's it right there. This is 17, 18, and 19.
Those are the three they're combined.
Yeah, this one.
Right.
And then this is the ladies.
Yeah, they're gonna put
Okay.
2 acres.
Okay.
All right. Number 7.
Okay. Let's see. Pull it up real quick. Oh, wait a minute. I'm turning this. All right, Leisha Elder, applicant for her mother Cora Laverne Hanley, is requesting to rezone her 4.2 acres from AR to R1 to split the property into approximately 2 equal tracts, to sell one and retain the other. Property is located at 181 Hanley Road in Hull on map 27, parcel 63 in District 1. And what's happening here is Mrs. Elder's mom suffers from dementia and is living in a long-term memory care facility due to the severity of her condition. In order to cover the expenses, Mrs. Elder needs to sell her mom's house with approximately 2.16 acres. And Miss Elder also lives on the same tract of land, and she wants to split off 2.04 acres with her home to retain, and so that's the need for the R1. There are multiple surrounding R1 properties in that area. We did verify that, but that's just a little site plan that she did that it would look like.
Are we going to just continue our process the way we do it and let BOC handle it at their meetings? Is that what we're, with the AR situation like they did last night?
Well, I was thinking the same way you were, since what they did last night, they're waiting to find out what we're gonna recommend, number one. Go from 4 to 2, or leave it as it is.
The BOC's decision on that would be when again?
March 4th.
March 4th.
And this is actually when it goes before the commissioners is March 4th. So I believe
Our public hearing in Rome will be February the 20th.
Right.
Right. And Chairman Higdon actually, we discussed that today, and I said to make sure to have it on the agenda before the zoning matters.
Yeah, we have to have this number 1.
And even if they do change it, they're still gonna have to reapply for a rezone because their initial request was to go to R1. So it's gonna involve another application to go to AR, but at least it would be feasible with the 2 acres.
If they
do it, yes, if they change it.
Does everybody know what we're talking about?
Not really. I don't think they do. Those that were at the meeting last night, just use Mr. Loggins, for example. His came before the BOC. Okay. After all the hoopla and all, they ended up postponing that. Not necessarily accepting our recommendation or turning our recommendations down, but postpone it until we do tonight what's on our agenda to vote whether to recommend to them to go back to 2 acres rather than 4. Okay. That will be on their agenda. If they go back to 2, then then Mr. Larkin doesn't really have a problem, okay? And this is the same way here.
Because he's already AR.
So, we're kind of stuck in the middle here as to what to do. And I think Stephanie's question is a valid one. Do we continue with this one in our public hearing before then? Do we make a recommendation, or we just let them handle it?
Can we postpone that?
I guess that's what I'm at. Do we let these people know that this is gonna happen? Is that our duty, or is it just, we just look at it as it's any old, just another zoning case.
I have mentioned it to all the other people.
I mean, we could even question, like, number one, you know, what if those people really wanted 2 acres instead of 4 acres?
Right.
Correct.
We're getting into some,
But I guess
I'm
we
not strict.
proceed as normal until that vote has been made by the
I
BOC.
agree. I think we just need to proceed as,
It's normal until after March the 4th. It's up to you guys. It's up to the body.
I think that's probably the cleanest way.
If I could make a recommendation, that we hear all of them, and then, instead of going down the rabbit hole now, and then one with AR, we hear everybody's cases that we have tonight for the business meeting, and then maybe a decision for how to handle the public hearing meeting on the 20th be discussed with the AR. So if this board moves forward with a recommendation from 4 to 2, we know, one, ahead of the game, what our recommendation is going to be to the DOC. And then we'll go ahead and move it to the first item on our meeting, our public hearing date, that the vote would be then.
I'm just wondering if we're gonna confuse people by doing that, because then they're gonna say, should I withdraw? Should I keep going? Like, it's gonna be messy, I think, if we even bring it up.
And see if we table anybody at ours, at our
Then
public hearing meeting.
that throws it all out of whack.
Well, then when it comes before the DOC, for a second time, because we wouldn't have a public hearing within the 30 days, it would automatically, everything would go to the DOC. If no vote's taken and no action's taken within 30 days of us sitting down to our business meeting, everything is looked at as a vote of approval. And I'm not saying anybody on there should or shouldn't be, but if we don't take an action, then that's how the DOC looks at it by Robert's Rules of Parliamentary Procedure.
Well, it sounds more and more like we just ought to continue as is until March 4th.
But definitely worth consideration and discussion after we hear it.
if we postpone or table something, that means that it has to come back here to us. If
Within
we were
30
to go ahead and process it, at least we can get it on and put it in the basket with everything else with the bills.
Right. Kind of satisfy you?
Yeah, I just, we're having a discussion at the end, right?
Yeah.
We can discuss more.
Do we have that discussion at the end, or do we vote tonight on that?
Discussion and then vote at the public hearing.
Okay. All right. So, any questions on this one? That was Elder.
Yes, sir.
Number 8.
All right. Here. All right, slide down to the site plan. All right, David and Deborah Painter are requesting to rezone their 5 acres from A1 to R1 to allow an approximate 2 acre split to retain with the remaining 3 acres to be sold and absorbed into neighbors adjoining A1 property. The property is located at 153 Highway 172 in Colbert on map 71, parcel 8B in District 5. And so he's just requesting that 2 acres be rezoned to R1. And Mr. Painter has 2 5-acre tracts. And his neighbor wants to buy both tracts with the exception of 2 acres from this tract that's being rezoned. The neighbor plans to absorb both acreages into his existing A1 property for a total of 44.67 acres. And Mr. Painter plans to build a home on the remaining 2 acres.
Where the mobile home is right now, or a trailer, or whatever it is.
Well, he told me it was vacant, that nothing was on there.
Well, if you flip this over to that site plan, it shows a trailer.
I don't know, that's an older plat, so it may not be there. And the tax records didn't show anything.
It's either been demoed or taken off the tax. I remember this one when he came in.
Yes, sir.
They're planning to build a home here and using the septic system and a well that's already on this 2-acre portion. And the applicant owns both of these tracts. A friend owns the back, this Benton gentleman. And so essentially he's just gonna have a house at the front. Mr. Benton's gonna take everything and combine it with plans to build a house in the future on the large parcel in the back. The only thing is when he combines and comes in for his permits, it's an easement coming into the property, so he'd have to build him a road. But that's whenever he combines or chooses to go that way.
Well, this is another one that falls in that same category. Because they're asking for R1. Depending on what the road is on the other thing. Okay?
It does butt up to the, what's the name of that subdivision?
Timber, what was it?
Timber Ridge,
something?
Timber Lane?
Tumbling Creek.
Tumbling Creek. Thank you.
I came in and asked Tracy about this just to save you some trouble. If you go to Q Public, these 2 parcels are listed on Q Public as R1s, but they're not R1s.
Correct. Our zoning ordinance,
So if you see them all listed,
classification.
that's correct.
Any further questions? Number 9?
All right, Brad and Amberly Bacho are requesting a conditional use to allow the construction and operation of a meat processing facility on their 30.55 acres. Property is located at 0 Highway 172 in Comer on map 82, parcel 52-A1 in District 5. And what's going on here, he is not planning to sell to the public, but he does plan to process deer for them. So he's not going to be selling the meat, he's just processing deer. The property is in the CUBA program, and this will breach the contract, but he's willing to pay the penalty.
Where is this? 0 Highway 172. Where is that?
I've got a little note, but it's besides 4914. But let's see, I'll pull it up.
It's going down towards my place.
Yeah, okay, Elwood Junction.
Mm-hmm.
This is a new S72, right?
Bring up,
Yes.
if you bring up this,
Because it is on that Holly Church.
Oh.
You turn left at Pioli Junction,
Uh-huh.
or if you go to
you go
Q-Public.
like going to Bowman.
It's down on the right.
Well, and I've got
Where
the
they're clear,
public
they're
thing right
clear
here.
trees and anything. Right.
Further to
Okay.
So he has 30.55
You need me
acres.
to go on to Key Public and zoom it up for you, or can you?
No, well, she's told me what it says.
Okay.
I'll find it.
What is it currently known as? A1?
A1, yes ma'am. And you have to have the 25 acre minimum at A1 for that.
Yeah, and they've got 30-something acres, so.
Mhm.
You know, there's no home or structure if it doesn't have a 911, so there's nothing on the property.
Mhm.
Does that live in, 52B then? Is that there? Right, that is,
I
Um,
think so.
I believe so, but let's see.
About 7.14 acres.
Yes, they do live beside it. I see their address. Mm-hmm.
So they have a letter of intent in here too.
Yes.
Large waste from the floor, the same way will be picked up by waste for dumping services twice a week.
There's a letter of intent.
But right now, there's nothing on it, for example, the on-site septic system they refer to is not installed yet.
So actually it'll be right off of 172, it's not in the middle of the property, it's right on the corner.
Right.
How far is that from the nearest residence?
One thing to consider with them just doing wildlife or deer is that they'll all be brought in carcass. There won't be anything.
Yeah, I was about to ask, what if, if we don't put anything in the conditions, what if they decide that they want to do beef one day?
Is it
Then
in
where
their
that's a
letter of
whole-
intent? I'd have to look back.
It says all local farmers and hunters, so.
Will offer customer cut meats and local, it doesn't say deer.
I thought you said they were gonna do deer processing.
That's what he said, but then this does say local farmers, so.
Well, we do need to take in the residents, maybe, sorry, to get into that. But we were talking about just doing deer and carcass, where we weren't worried about like noise, trailers coming in, and everything else. With that, we need to look at it the same as, was it Cody Lake?
Mm-hmm.
Was that, I think that's the last one we heard. I know we've heard two fairly recently, but another thing that the neighbors had addressed, the noise and everything, so.
Right.
They have to do some punching numbers to see where it is. On their site plan, did they show where they want to put the facility?
Yes,
They did.
on the corner. Right, joining
right
from
next to their
172.
Next to the home.
And there's no home within 400 feet of the proposed building.
Let me say that.
Okay.
Without that letter of intent, all I knew is that they were going to do it here.
Right.
Any further comments or questions on this one?
So, it says large, they're gonna have waste pro dumpsters coming in and off. So are they gonna come in off 70, well, I know they gotta come in off I-72, but the deal, I guess Doc has to look at that.
With it being a state highway.
That's what I'm coming in and out and on that busy highway.
We really don't look at it for dumpster pickup, it'd be the traffic, how many customers they claim to see a day.
Right.
And of course, with them doing wildlife, which I don't know if they've looked into everything with GVA and USDA certifications to be a meat processor and the separation between wildlife and livestock, and the processing and the closing down and the cleansing of the facility between the two, may be a valid question to ask them at the public hearing. Are you just going to do wildlife? Is it going to be out of deer season when you offer to do pigs or goats or sheep or cattle, things of that nature?
So essentially, you're saying during hunt season, they'd be doing wildlife, and then off season, they clean it up. And then
If it was me, that's what I do. I don't know Madam's house cat.
I don't think they can mix the two.
No, they cannot, and then they're supposed to clean down between species,
Right.
except for sheep, goats, and cattle, can all be processed same day in the same facility between cleaning. Hogs have to be on a separate day, so do chickens, and then wildlife treat as hogs with a 3-day cleanse between.
So who goes out there and regulates all that?
Depends on if they register with the Georgia Department of Ag or the United States Department of Ag.
So they don't have to? You
You
said
regulate or
you said
inspect?
if they do.
No, it's which one.
Oh,
If they want to
okay.
be state inspected or federal.
Oh, okay, I'm gonna say.
Or no, it's one or the other.
Yeah.
It's one or the other.
And whichever one they go, it goes out and regulates. They go out and inspect, that kind of thing.
And if it's USDA, there'll be an inspector on the property during all field times.
All right, any further questions about that one? Number 10, James H. Strickland.
Okay, this one's a little bit, unusual,
Like
but,
all of them?
yeah. Now, this hinges, there's two of them together here. James Strickland and he's got 2 rezones, and then Bert Strickland, his son, has 2. So, has 1 rezone, so I'll just read, James's first. James H. Strickland is requesting to rezone his 5.29 acres from A2 to AR to allow approximately 0.55 of an acre to be combined with adjoining property, map 14, parcel 59A, to give to son. Property is located at 79 Cole Strickland Road in Hull on map 14, parcel 58 in District 1. And his second one is requesting to rezone 22.72 acres from A1 to AR and A2, so that's a dual rezone. He's rezoning an approximate 2.51 acre portion from A1 to AR to be combined with adjoining property, map 14, parcel 59A, to give to son, and to rezone the remaining acreage from A1 to A2 to bring it into compliance. Property is located at 191 Cole Strickland Road in Hull on map 14, parcel 59 in District 1. So this one was very hard to try to figure out, but Mr. James Strickland, the father, has 2 parcels that he's cutting portions out of to absorb into his son's land to enlarge his parcel as a gift. So the dad has 2 tracts, the 5.29 acre, and he's given his son 0.55 of an acre to that, and out of his second tract of 22.72 acres, he's given his son 2.51 acres to combine with his son's existing tract that has a home on it. So, tract 2 requires a dual rezone because the AR would need to be for the 2.51 acre split, and then the A2 would be for that remaining balance, and that would bring it into compliance, and it's currently non-conforming, lawfully non-conforming. So the son is also having to rezone his parcel to AR to allow for the absorption. So let me see if I've got a little bit better notes here.
So we could take 10 and 11 up as one vote with the condition that the AR portion be combined with the son's portions, and then if y'all wanted to approve that, then Bert's would automatically have to be approved for the absorption.
And if you want me to, I can read Bert's real quick and that goes with it.
All right, go ahead.
Is that okay? All right. Bert Strickland is requesting to rezone his 1.56 acres from A1 to AR to allow the absorption of approximately 0.55 and 2.51 acres from his father's 2 adjoining properties, map 14, 58, and 59, into his property as a gift for a total of 4.62 acres. Property is located at 1293 Lucky Jones Road in Hull on map 14, parcel 59A in District 1. So essentially, Bert has 1.56 acres with his home on it. This is the son. And he's getting the .55 and the 2.51 from these two different tracts of his dad's land, so that he will have a combined total of 4.62 acres. And that was a doozy trying to figure this out and how to word it. It really
Who owns that
taxed me there.
4.74 acres, right next to the, Cody, Strickland, Coral Strickland Road? Who owns that tract?
Who owns this?
Yeah.
4.74.
James.
Yes, James owns that, the father.
That's the 5 point, originally 5.29.
Cut out that .55.
And then James owns, this one over here as well.
All right, any further questions on that? Okay. Number 13, O'Brien Sexton.
Yeah.
Mine keeps not showing up.
Yeah, hopefully he'll show up this time. Let me get caught up here. All right, Byron Sexton is requesting to rezone his 11.18 acres from A2 to AR to allow a portion of the property with the existing home to be split off to sell and to be split off and to sell and to retain the remaining 7.17 acres. Property is located at 6163 Highway 174 in Danielsville on map 61, parcel 31 in District 4. So as you know, this application was back from our November hearing that he failed to appear. So he's splitting off 4.01 acres with an existing old family house that it was family homestead house. And he's wanting to sell that, and he's keeping the remaining 7.17 acres. So due
And
to
both of them be AR.
yes, due to the acreage size, the entire parcel must be rezoned to AR.
Is he gonna have enough road frontage on that 7.17 acres?
Yes, sir.
All right, 14.
Okay. Josh Kimball, applicant for his mother Lynn Bales, is requesting to rezone her 5 acres from A1 to AR to allow a second home to be placed on the property, as an accessory dwelling unit for her son. Property is located at 374 Hanley Road in Hull on map 27, parcel 17C in District 1. And what's happening here is Mrs. Bell wants to let her son live on the property beside her to help care for the property. They cannot split due to financing. By rezoning it to AR, this will bring the non-conforming property into compliance. They will share an existing driveway. And let's see some other notes. There's also an elderly grandmother that lives near, and Josh's mom needs help caring for and they can't split due to financing, and the topography of the land.
You know, the houses right on both sides, I've seen the sign this season.
Did you?
Basically right across the road from that other one on Henry Road.
Mm-hmm.
Those all set.
Well, this kind of falls in line with all of the rest of the AR requests, I think. Instead of rezoning, if this thing goes to rezoning, instead of rezoning to AR, well, you can have two portions there. But we're talking about accessory dwelling though.
Yeah, that's
Whether that fits or not.
And you don't have to have an easement for that, accessory.
It's convoluted.
What?
It's convoluted.
It is.
Oh.
The second home being an ADU.
I know the trade line is, the property line, that driveway's gonna be mighty close to the line. Go behind the house.
Is the plan, all these issues that come with ADUs, is the plan to wait on our rewrite to address issues with ADUs, or can it come up ahead of time?
ahead of time. Did y'all see the email? Yeah, this Tracy generated out. If you go to that link, section 903, is the International Zoning Code. We refer to it a lot with the ICC, the International Construction Code. But we don't have the IZC adopted into the county. But it's a good read for thought. Maybe we can, at the discussion at the end of the night, if the board would like, maybe we can bring that up, take this coming month to look at the IZC, boy, that's right there, to use to maybe spark some ideas. Y'all might have already known about it. I know it's the first time I'm trying to bring it.
Well, why don't you do this? Why don't you just put it on the agenda for the next business meeting? Give us all time to read it, and look it over and on, and decide what we might want to do. And then we'll discuss it.
So discuss, ADU, is that what? Okay, next business meeting.
All right, that takes care of all our rezone.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
may I request a small,
Break.
short break?
Yes, sir. Yes, I got a question. I got an email from Christina about the rewrite. Are they in now, or have they been in, have they talked?
I have been left out of that discussion with a third party. I haven't had any dealings with them or input.
Have you had any dealings with them at all? Who are they talking to?
Not me, and something I've been
Are they
interested in
here?
for a while. They haven't shared anything with me.
Well, okay. I'm asking the wrong person then.
Yeah, and I don't mean that with any.
Well, I know, I understand.
The selection process, staff was left out of, as well as any.
Right, well, I was part of the selection process. I mean, I was part of that. And we selected the group, and I thought that they were gonna come in and, deal with, I mean, they got the, I understand being left out of the selection process. But the email that I got from Christina was asking me to come in and to
Speak with.
see what they're doing, and had mentioned two people on this particular board to serve as such, and then, but I haven't heard back from her, cause I sent her a email back,
Yes,
and I don't know if this,
She's gone
I should.
training.
Yeah, no, but the two people that were mentioned off of this board are both male. So I sent her one back and said, hey, well, you may want to consider a female as part of it, because we have a diverse group here. So, but I haven't heard anything back. But it's shocking to me, to know that y'all don't know anything.
I'm tagging several email chains where it's referenced and wanting to pose questions to them, and been asked what my opinion is, and I have to reply back. I don't have an opinion because I haven't been able to be part of any of the conversation.
Oh, okay. But anyway, we'll move on from that. Sorry I asked.
No.
I just make it more confusing. All right, are we ready? Number 2.
All right, discuss amending the agricultural residential AR zoning district in section 7.3 and, section or article 8 chart of the zoning ordinance to revert the minimum acreage requirement from 4 to 2 acres. Now, I know we've already voted on this, but, we were actually supposed to advertise this as a public hearing. So that's why it's gonna have to be, discussed tonight, which I'm sure there's not much to discuss since we already voted on it, and then it'll be voted on at our public hearing.
Well, I guess my opinion of this is, y'all know what it is. I've been saying it ever since school went in, so nobody has to wonder where I am.
Man.
So I guess we'll vote at the public hearing.
My opinion is, we need to change it back to 2 acres, but if we want to get away from R1s, just say have a AR1 and AR2. AR1 would be left at 4 acres, AR2 be 2 acres. Because that way, ain't the difference, is the animals on the R1 and the A.
You can't have animals on R1, but you can on AR.
6 chickens, 2 goats or sheep of any combination, 1 donkey.
Well, we still, if we put it, say if we go to AR2, make AR2 and AR1, have AR2 and no farm out. Leave AR1 4 acres. Would that be a complication in setting it R1 back to 2 and making it R1?
I've had that conversation, with the chairman as well, and, I've asked him what agriculture practices outside of urban agriculture would separate an AR2, the 2 acre one, from an R1. Because you can garden in an R1, you can keep bees in an R1, what agriculture practices separate them. And there's only things a half acre, and it's not just about the name, it's about the land use. That goes along with it. If you're going to call it an ag zone, the conditions and uses in ag zone have to be ag. Now, I know there's micro farmers out there, and I've seen those miniature little cattle, but I don't know how many you can fit on an acre and 2 acres.
So that'll probably get in, have AR1, AR2, that'll get in the, we'd probably have that suit come up with like, they.
Well, I think we'd probably wait to add any more zoning classifications with the recommendation from the CPL, I think.
Yeah.
If we want to add.
I think it'd be cleaner. My opinion, I think it'd just be cleaner to go back to 2 and then
Wait.
Yeah, because I think.
And then wait.
I understand what you're saying, but I think that's gonna create another problem if we try to separate those 2 and have 4 acres here and 2 acres there.
Yeah, I say that run into be run into agriculture problems with animals and all, if you leave it as they are, one or two. We don't wanna bring that up.
Yeah, that's a pot.
Start
I
letting
think
it-
these first.
Pot be stirred up big time.
You definitely don't start
We
that.
don't need to stir up some more pot the way I hear here lately. We've done stirred up enough already.
My only concern with these is if we maybe try to make a recommendation to the BOC also is, what are we gonna do about these people having to pay another fee to do another rezone? Are we, are we gonna force them to pay? And is that gonna open a can of worms for others who have in the past done the 4 acres but really wanted to do the 2 acres?
Well, just the comment, I don't think the people in the past are helpful. I mean, you change things all the time.
Sure.
So when this changes, the people in the past, unfortunately, they'll just hold up. It just
I
happens.
just wanna make sure we get some legal counsel on that with,
Yeah, and I would say if these 5 board commissioners, I mean, they would say, hey, you don't have to pay again. I mean, that's just wrong.
They can, vote to waive fees or to extend anything of that nature, just how the chairman did when we were in the moratorium. Any non-conforming parcel that wants to rezone to come into conformity, the fee was waived on those. So they could open, I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but they could offer, clemency, if you would, for anybody that, since the change from 2 to 4, if they went that way, they could offer clemency to anybody that wanted to refinagle property lines.
so I will say this, if I've debated if I'm gonna say it, but I'm gonna say it just so it's on record for the board of commissioners if they are questioning if they want to bring it back to 2.
Look directly at the camera, looking through
I
the
know,
stars.
right? They voted last month to allow the golf course to come in. It was, how do I explain this? Last night, there was a lot of arguments about the R1. But to me, if it was a golf course, the argument would have been, the argument's invalid. Because we allowed a golf course to come in an ag area. We went against our zoning ordinance with the minimum requirement for 3/4 acre. So I'd like to say anybody questioning whether we go back from I'm not pointing this at you.
No, I am genuinely interested.
I just feel like we broke the rules for some, but we're not, we're questioning others. So, I mean, it's hard to say that somebody couldn't come in here and use that as a defense, that golf course, for almost anything at this point. So I'd really like to see it go back to 2. I think it would solve a lot of problems until we get some help, because I think even after last night, we need some help from some professionals on how to go forward.
Well, I think after last night, there's a lot of thought that maybe we need to go back to 2.
I don't disagree. My biggest concern with this the whole time, I try to stick to the uses, match the uses with the appropriate size of the parcels in order to practice those uses. I've just felt like 2 acres is not enough to practice farming, especially with livestock. So that's why I felt like higher acreage would be more appropriate. But even more than that, to me, we're approving R1s. I have a huge concern with spot zoning. what we're doing is we're planning medium to high density zones in an agricultural area that's identified as a low density, large parcel area. Those conflict with each other, much in the same way that it's like planning business zones in the middle of a residential district. It's not appropriate. And I think that the more R1s that we stick out there, and I understand what we're trying to do, we're wanting smaller parcels for people people are wanting smaller parcels to divide off smaller parcels. But to me, we have to get away from putting residential zones in a agricultural area.
I don't disagree with that.
We're asking for trouble down the road.
But I think that we're almost looking into it a little too deep. I think nobody has a problem except with a letter. That
Yeah.
R1 to AR, I think most of these people would be fine if their neighbor had a 2-acre lot, as long as it said AR, because it almost safeguards them, because it has agriculture. So as long as they don't, when they see that R1, that's when they start freaking out, and I agree, I don't think we need to start spot zoning, but I don't think it has anything to do with the acreage to most people. I think it's just scares them with the residential neighborhoods coming in.
And I think you're right. You know, if you got all these parcels right around it, there are 1.5 acres, 2 acres, whatever, you know, and they call, what do you call them? AR, R1. Same thing, you just change it a letter. So, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, everybody knows how it is.
Yeah.
And I thought,
This is probably an appropriate time for me to mention this. I heard this a lot last night at the BOC meeting, and I've heard it among us. I get the feeling that people are correct me if I'm wrong, Christopher, people are equating small acreages, less than 4 acres, as R1s. When we look at a request for an R1, say a 2-acre R1 request, and we look around it and we see all these small ones, and we say, well, look at all the R1s around it. They're not R1s. They're non-conforming A1s or whatever they are. Until they are designated R1s, they're not R1s. They're non-conforming A1s. We didn't create all these small parcels out there. They were done previously. We were just given these. But I hear people saying, look at all these R1s just because they are small acreages, and they're not.
what we did.
What you mean you can't farm an acre and a half?
When we went from, I think we jumped the gun when we went from 4 to 2, because we did create non-conforming. And that's why a lot of people came.
2 to 4.
Yeah, when we went from 2 to 4, we created some. And that's why some people came in. And then we scared people because they wanted to give their kids acreage. And I think that's what we did when we went from that 2 to 4.
Well, you know, one of the things that I said at the beginning, when we talked about this, we discussed it, get ready. Here comes the R1s.
Yeah.
So I think we gotta fix it somehow. And I believe the fix is to go back to 2.
The only thing I would ask is whatever is recommended, whether it be 2, 1.5, 3, whatever, that would be able to tell the BOC why we're choosing what we're choosing. I mean, if it's gonna be 2, why 2? Why not 1.5 acres? Why not 3? Why 2? Why is 2 the magic number?
I don't think it is. I think it's just where we were, and we just wanna go back.
Okay, that's fair. We also need to be ready. People have already requested 1.5 acres, R1s, and we've granted some of those. I know there's one up off in East Commerce that got recently. We've got to be ready that if we go back to 2, and people request 1.5 acres R1, at some point we got to say no. I mean, you know, if 2's going to be it, then we've been saying okay to twos when 4 is our rule. If we go back to 2, then an acre and a half is gonna have to be no, in my opinion.
Depending on the
It's
circumstance.
like, then 2 doesn't mean anything if we're not willing to say no. We're not willing to deny them. It's
Well,
inappropriate.
I got a question, but I don't wanna bring it up now, I want, if we're gonna vote on this, but it, kind of addresses what she's trying to say and what you're trying to say is, and do you want me to go into it now?
No.
Okay. I'm not,
It might be the most honest answer that's
Cause I know what she's gonna talk, you can bring it up later.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. If you would.
I know, I mean, because they're bringing it up, so I'm saying, okay, this goes along with what they're saying, okay.
Let's do it later.
Okay.
All right. Let's go to number 3.
So we will vote on this at the next meeting?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
At public hearing.
All right, number 3, discuss section 14.3.8.2 regarding applicants' failure to appear for their scheduled planning and zoning commission public hearings. And I have, provided you guys with a copy of the ordinance, with a highlighted section that kind of what we're going to talk about tonight.
Okay, I think that the attorney has said at the last one, his interpretation of that. He's not here tonight. Okay? My only concern is that everybody that doesn't show be treated the same. Mr. Sexton hasn't shown he was put back on the agenda, and he was told, I think, that he didn't have to pay again. Okay? We had another one that came up, Mr. Hall didn't show. My understanding, he was told something different, that he did have to pay. Okay? So my concern is, everybody's got to be treated the same. How you do it. I don't care how you do it.
He's coming up for it.
Am I wrong in, am I wrong in that? Am I wrong in saying that we had 2 people that were given 2 different answers? Okay?
We need to be consistent with that. If they don't show up without any legitimate reason or call and let somebody know, they should be automatically withdrawn and have to pay again. Not show back up here the next month and say, oh, they said we didn't have to pay.
And do we have any enforcement on that? Because we are a recommending body, so if the BOC decides they want to do something different, how do we stand firm on this?
Change the verbiage.
Yeah, the verbiage has to be, if we do what he's saying is, the verbiage has to be changed, because the verbiage on this says 2 different things. It says if you don't show and we haven't voted, and we can't vote until you show and present.
It's a loop.
Yeah, this has to be rewritten altogether. And our recommendation to the VOC can be, I mean, we rewrite it and says, hey, this is the way it, if you all agree, if you don't agree.
So I guess my question is more, if we rewrite it with no loopholes, but the BOC still allows it, how can we stop that?
They can do that, they can do that.
Regardless.
They're elected officials.
They're right, they're over us, they can change anything.
We can present it as.
Or they can accept our recommendation.
Yeah, we can present it as our recommendation for an amendment, like we did during the moratorium or any text amendment that we can do, and not trying to throw Mike under the bus or talk bad, but if we phrase it bluntly to where there's no circle or loop, then we might get the attorney to back the text. And then not only this board, staff, and the attorney are all on the same page. that's 3 points weighing on the elected officials, but just like we said, they're elected, you know, and they sign my paycheck, so
Okay,
I do what they.
I don't think it should hinge on the vote. I mean, this clearly says if they do one thing before the vote or after the vote, depends on what happens. To me, it shouldn't hinge on the vote. Either they show or they don't show. If they don't show, then it's a withdrawal, period. I don't know why voting is
Critical.
interjected.
You're critical on it.
Yeah, they're either here or they're not.
The way this state, we can vote on every one of them. If they don't show, automatically we say, no, 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 no. And turn them down, but then they go for the board of commissioners, they say yes, 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 so. Just cause it didn't show, if we do that to every one, we'd see that, well, nobody be sitting out here.
okay, well, help me to, because it says if the applicant requests withdraw prior to a vote, so they're not gonna show up, because we have not voted.
Or they change their mind.
Yeah, they changed their mind. So the next one says if the applicant request is withdrawn after the vote, so that means they're here, we voted, and now they wanna withdraw.
Say it was a unanimous, this is just what comes to mind. They had a request, P and Z board did a unanimous denial. They're like, all right, it's gonna go to the BOC with a unanimous denial, my chances are, don't worry about it, I'm gone.
Yeah.
That's where I see that.
So that's why that's why they do it.
Yeah.
Because they feel that they're not going to get it.
See, we
So,
have,
and they don't get their money back anyway.
Mhm.
So what is the problem?
Problem is, if you don't, like Mr. Section, if he didn't show, he's able to come back, and he doesn't have to pay. Well, that was an automatic withdrawal as far as I'm concerned, because he didn't show.
Okay, so he didn't withdraw, we withdrew. Because he didn't
no,
show up.
he didn't show up.
So that's an automatic withdrawal.
Must be all
That's the way
right.
I see
So
it.
I'm saying, he didn't walk into your office and say, I'm withdrawing.
Correct.
Right, so that's what you're saying, they're automatic withdrawn.
I think that big paragraph that's in the canary yellow, if
Yeah.
you will, when we changed it, the only thing we changed was a year to 6 months before they could come back.
Right.
And the whole paragraph should have been rewritten, and it should just constitute a no-show. None of this prior withdrawal or anything, and I'm just speaking freely with y'all. It should just constitute a no-show, not a withdrawal or anything else. I feel that should be the paragraph above it that's defining a withdrawal. There's no reason to talk about a withdrawal at the bottom. And then the failure of an applicant to show up is that brighter highlighter yellow, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
If we totally
Would not be
just X'd out canary yellow,
Mm-hmm.
moved failure of applicant up underneath withdrawal, and then underneath it stated failure of showing constitutes a no refund of funds. The application can't be heard again until 6 months.
Right.
Make it flow a little better, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I'd go as far as this, because it's the powers of this board to be able to do it according to the bylaws. If the chairman and the board vote to form a crisis committee, and that's, crisis is just the term they use for it, where two people can sit down with me, and I think in less than an afternoon, we could change the verbiage up to recommend to the board at the business meeting in March to take it up as a board after that point in time. Y'all to look at it, pick away at what the crisis committee and myself were able to strike out and reword. You'll hear it at the business meeting. If we need to change anything, tweak it, whatever, we can do it and then vote on it at the public hearing meeting in March. And then be able to present it to the BOC as soon as April.
But Christopher, it would count as an amendment to the ordinance, so it would have to go before be advertised and go before public hearing, so.
But they can recommend it with edits.
By March or something, but, because we would have to discuss it.
We'd have to vote
We'd have
on
to
it and then
we'd have to go
advertise.
ahead and advertise it.
Yeah,
So a crisis committee can be formed at any time, at any meeting to address any one issue.
If we had it where we can vote on it in March and come for the Board of Commissioners in April, you'd have time to advertise it, wouldn't you?
When's the deadline for, March ads?
it is, I believe it's the 24th, I'd have to look at my calendar.
I mean, that should just be a pretty easy change there,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I don't think we need no crisis.
I like to
This is
run
what I
across,
want. Like, change a couple of sentences and vote on it at our next meeting and.
But what we're trying to get rid of is the person that, does not show up and gets their money back.
Right.
Okay, so that's all we have to do is change right there in the second paragraph. If the applicant's request is withdrawn after the vote or is a no-show, then they don't get their money back.
Well, I think after the vote should come out of there.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
gonna
what
take out
you.
the entire canary yellow.
Yeah, I think
after the
that'll be,
vote.
I think that'll be fine if you just write that up, email it to us and put it on the agenda. I mean,
Okay,
It'll be easy, let's knock it out.
Okay, well, how are you gonna separate?
We would discuss it on our business meeting in March and then be able to vote on it at the public hearing meeting.
Okay, so we're gonna
And then,
because I was gonna say, how are you gonna,
So regardless of what we do to this, it has to be advertised.
Yes, yes, any text amendment has
What's
to
your
be
question?
advertised.
no, I'm saying, if you get rid of the vote, how are you gonna separate, if I come in and I withdraw myself, then I should be able to get my money back, because
Yeah.
you did not vote on it.
Half the money.
So, what happened?
Yeah.
can only-
That's
Now-
because we've already spent money and time advertising and mailing.
Yeah, now, if I totally don't show up,
Yeah, you lose everything.
and then, you have voted,
We wouldn't have voted.
no, this, I'm talking about this section right here, it says, if the applicant request is withdrawn after the vote, so,
Well, no, take that.
That's what we're
Take that
gonna
out.
take out.
okay, that's why I'm saying, how are you going to, okay, I came in and withdrew myself. Okay, before we had a meeting, before there was a vote. Okay, now, I come in, I'm at the meeting. Okay, I didn't like what you said. So, you voted. Now, I'm coming back and withdrawing. So, how are you gonna separate me from the person that came in?
When did you withdraw? After the business meeting or after the public hearing?
Well, which one is this one?
After the public hearing,
After the public hearing meeting, then you lose your full fund.
See, we had a situation like
Okay, well-
that, a couple of months ago.
6 months. I mean, you can
Yeah,
do
then
that.
you can come back and see.
You know, we had a situation like this a couple of months ago on the, cell tower. I didn't get the guy's name, it had gonna split 3 ways. We had the public hearing, he withdrew his application because he had to work something out. If y'all remember that.
Yeah,
So-
Chris Smith.
Yeah, Chris Smith. He come back a month, I think it's a month later or so, and presented again, but he went through the public hearing, but there was concern.
But that was our
That
fault.
was our
We made him
recommendation.
withdraw
That's
because
right.
it was in the wrong zoning.
Yeah, we recommended that he
Well, that's different,
And
but he
you think you
withdrew
come
before
back.
the vote.
yeah,
I mean, we talked him out of the vote,
yeah.
so, right.
So that's what
So
I'm
it's
saying,
legal.
how are you gonna separate those?
He was here, and he was here at the meeting. What we need to decide on, if they don't come through that door and don't tell Tracy or Christopher about, should be 5 o'clock that day about here. If they don't withdraw before that, and they don't come through that door, it's automatically withdrew.
Yes.
That's something that we have to decide on. But if they come here and withdraw, that's a little bit different story. But if they don't come through them doors and don't let nobody know by 5 o'clock, hey, something come up, I can't be there, they work it out between Christopher and Tracy, that's automatic withdrawal. That's something we have to put in the verbiage somewhere or another.
Well, that's where we should say that that is still, they don't get their money back.
They
Who'll get
don't,
their money back when?
Well, that's what I'm trying to understand. What are you saying? Okay, it says, what you're trying to do is stop that person that comes in here, sits through our public meeting, we vote, and then they don't like our vote, and they go back and withdraw, and they get their money. Is that what you're saying? They don't get their money.
No, they don't get their money back.
They get half.
Okay.
They get half their money back.
Okay.
But what you're talking about, two different situations. You're talking about somebody that doesn't show at all, okay?
Yeah.
If they don't show at all, it's considered a withdrawal. They don't get their money back, and they have to wait 6 months.
Okay.
If they show up, okay? And after we vote, it don't matter, after we vote, if they don't like it, and then they withdraw, they're in the same situation. They don't get their money back, and they have to wait 6 months.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. You could put no.
I do hear what she's saying.
After-
We need to clarify at all three. I think there's three scenarios there that could happen. We do need to clarify
Yeah.
all three scenarios.
This one, if the applicant's request is withdrawn
So we're
after
dealing
the
with a
vote,
withdrawal
or
failure
if
to
there's
appear.
a no-show,
withdrawal?
they don't get their money.
Before the meeting.
Yeah.
A no-show and a withdrawal after our vote.
No, I don't see a withdrawal after the vote. It's when the case was, we decided we're not gonna vote on this now because it's not ready.
Right.
And that's, that was not exactly
Tabling.
a table. That's, but if we vote, then that pretty much is. that's
Yeah,
it.
but they still have the right to withdraw after our vote because we're just a recommendation.
Yeah, but then
Recommending.
they lose everything.
I don't think it needs to be pointed out
Yeah.
that that's all
Okay,
I'm
that's
saying.
what
I
I'm-
don't disagree. It just, they need to know beforehand that if they withdraw before the BOC meeting, then
Yeah, that's
Sorry.
where I'm saying we could put that in.
And I was wrong, the voting component does play.
Right.
Yeah.
Once you write it up, email it to us like Stephanie's dad. We'll review it, and then we'll see.
If I could just maybe suggest, be sure to put some sort of statement in there that this is to ensure consistency.
Now, going back to what has already happened, Mr. Sexton has been allowed to come back without any kind of penalty. I think Mr. Hall should be given the same consideration. Mr. Hall should be called and told he can come back too. I think that's fair to both.
Just so the board knows, the decision of refunds does not lay in our office. Just so y'all know. If we get money, we don't want to leave it. Let it back. But that decision is made above.
Okay.
Just so
Now, we're not talking about refunds now.
or the ability to come back.
The ability to come back without having to pay again.
They do that if they come back. Yes, instead of using any names in the past, John Doe fails to show for whatever reason.
Okay,
And they go to Chairman A,
okay.
explain their reason, and then the chairman comes down. The chairman can direct staff what to put on and what to charge on agendas.
well,
I
I
hear
don't think
you.
we're gonna stop that, but I don't know how we stop that, but it looks bad on them, not on us, I guess.
Well, I don't care who it is. I can't sit here and accept that because that's discrimination. Point blank.
Everyone should be treated fair on no matter what.
So if I have to go to Chairman A and say, hey, this is wrong, I'm gonna make an issue out of it because it's wrong and we can't do this as a county staff, paid or unpaid,
So how,
appointed or elected. We cannot do things for one and not do for the other.
how about when we make our recommendation and our amendment that we have a statement saying that we, as a board, have decided there should be no exceptions to the rule, so that they know that we know what they've been doing. You know what I mean? I don't think we can do anything besides that.
You can also explain it to the Board of Commissioners when you give them the briefing on the case. You tell them why it is coming before them before
Yeah.
time is up.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And my mind's running, well, I can fit it in there, if y'all would like me to fit it in our first draft. That in the rewrite at the bottom of the section, it shall state without exception. Now, I can't guarantee you that won't get edited above us, or the attorney is like, no, you lock yourself in the corner, but.
We can put it in there, and then if they vote to take it out, then we know that's where they stand on it.
Christopher, I need to ask this, not to muddy the water, but I know it came into play with Mr. Sexton about the first time that he was a no-show and he got back on the agenda. The excuse was his wife was in the emergency room. Who makes the decision as to whether an excuse that is given? I had a wreck on the way to the meeting, whatever. Whose discretion is that?
The Board of Commissioners. And then sometimes, I'm making sure I phrase it appropriately. Sometimes the county council is questioned before a decision is brought in. Sometimes, even outside of this circumstances, not with this one in particular, but someone had a house burn, they need to move in a camper immediately on the property because they didn't have home insurance and they can't afford the hotel with everything that's going on. We make exceptions for that, and the few times that happen where it's a violation of zoning and permitting, I take it to Todd and I sign off on him showing him I'm in favor of this, and I'm asking for his signature. For example, so it's just me basing a recommendation for a hardship that doesn't quite fit, the meat, the narrative, the words of it, but humanitarian reasons, special circumstances, things like that. I think with this, I'm conflicted. I have to spend more time on it. Without exception is what we want. But then, we're going to get locked into one. Sure enough, I was on the way here and I got in a wreck. I was hospitalized and in coma for a month. But by God, I want my rezone. How are we going to stand up to it legally? Well, it says without exception, so
I'm wondering how other counties do this.
Hard nose.
Hard nosed with the 6 months?
Yeah,
Because I'm
with their
almost,
deadline.
why 6 months?
Most of them are actually a year like we used to.
Why even a time limit? As long as they repay their fee, process it again. I just don't ever want them to be put in front of somebody else. That's the biggest thing. I don't even care if they come back the next month, as long as they wait in line, pay their fee.
So instead of mixing this all together, a no-show for any reason without exception is no funds. We're sorry you forgot and fell asleep, or we're sorry you were fitting to come. Either way, You don't have to come back, pay, and however you follow in the process. But you know, if we're out like now to the April, May, that's just when you dip back in without exception, whether you did it deliberately or accidentally, and we take out the time.
I like that, take away the 6 months, you just got to get back in line.
Yeah.
Okay, you're moving.
Otherwise, I guess it's coming across as a penalty or a
Yeah, I just didn't never
punishment
see
or something.
why the punishment was there. I mean, things happen, listen, I get it. A lot of older people, they may forget. I don't wanna punish them, but I don't wanna punish others by putting them in front of them.
I agree with one of them.
And that was the reason with me wanting to take it from 12 to 6, because life happens and everything.
I have no problem taking the time limit off of it, I don't.
I'd like to explore that a little bit more, maybe see what some other people do and counties do, or, you know, look some things up, but.
Coney County, if I remember correctly, is 6 months. Franklin County's a year, Stevens County's a year, Hart County doesn't have zoning. I don't even want to look at Elders.
Oh, we don't have to have zoning in this county? I make a motion.
Zoning RBM?
Okay. I think we.
Can I ask my question?
No, we want to take for next, you want to take for next month.
If y'all do have thoughts or ideas, please
What?
email.
Because so we're picking along with it. But my only concern is, what do we do with Mr. Hall?
He's coming up next month.
He's already back on the agenda.
And he's already paid that $250 again.
It's not right. Did Mr. Sexton pay the $250? Mr. Hall should be giving his money back. Now, who do I need to go to say that? That's fine. I will do that. I will do that, because that is not fair. That is not fair.
We all recommend you go do that.
No, we don't need no vote on that. I'll see the trouble. Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion. They second it?
Please. All in favor, aye.
Oh, yeah, but I don't know what we're gonna see, you should just keep it.
Well, I
He didn't